So how many girls have you slept with? A woman will shit test you from time to time and actually ask you this question. She's trying to gauge if you're actually congruent with who you are as a strong alpha man. Here are 3 answers that I typically like to respond with to fuck with them. 1. Say an outrageous number like 1,000. 2. Look at her and say, "What are you talking about? You're gonna be my first." Or 3, if you really want to be cocky and funny, you can respond with, "How about you sleep with me and you tell me how many women I've slept with?" And always give them a sly smile right after you answer that. Congratulations, you've now passed her shit test.
As women, there are things that we do to subconsciously test men. One of the ways in which women test men is we will ask them to do something, see their reaction, to see that in the moment. Do they give in to what we say, or do they stay true to themselves? If you ask the man you're seeing to do something that he doesn't want to do, and he does it, even though it makes you happy in the moment, you lose respect for him. This will be really subtle, like you won't really notice it, but you'll still feel kind of annoyed, but you don't really know why, because he did what you wanted him to do. Subconsciously, it's because when he caves into what you tell him to do, it shows his inability to be the leader. And as the woman, that makes you feel like you have to step up and be the masculine in the relationship.
S tests most often refer to dating and seduction, and as a rule of thumb, the person who tests is the person who chooses. And that's what the test is for. This test is a tool for the chooser to evaluate the pursuer. By the end of this video, you will know all about tests, including how to pass them. Watson's test. This is a term coming from the early days pickup artists. It refers to women testing men to make sure they are good enough for intimacy, relationships, or simply good enough to deserve their interest and keep the interaction going. Men test women too, and men test other men as well. Trump, for example, says he likes testing people. Social interactions are full of tests as well. So yes, in a way, we could say that tests are everywhere. However, when talking about tests, 99% of the times people refer to women testing men in dating and seduction contexts. Why do women test men? The reason is very simple. Women test men because in the dating marketplace, on average, women have more power and are the choosers. And when you are the chooser, you shop around and test the merchandise to make sure you get the best which is available within your budget, the budget being her dating market value. What do women test for? There are different theories on what women test men for. Women seek confidence, proof of his dating options, and proof he can provide security. Women test men as part of the dating arms race. Men try to position themselves as better than they actually are, and women need to make sure they're not going to be intimate with weak men who are posturing as alpha. Women seek first and foremost strength. They seek men who are generally better than they are, the major element behind female hypergamy. And well, they are all right. It's not always easy to generalize what women look for when they test men, because what they look for depends a lot on who she is looking for, and which point of the interaction you're at. Upon first meeting, she wants to make sure you're not a weirdo. Later on, she wants to test if you're as high value as you portray yourself to be, and a little later, she wants to test if you could make for a good provider or a lover. If she's looking for a relationship, she might also want to make sure you're not a player. Are these tests good for you? There is a bit of a misconception around tests. Part of it is because coaches sometimes want to encourage men rather than telling how it is. In an effort to encourage, dating coaches say that tests are great news because it means she is considering you. In many ways, it's not wrong. Yet I personally wouldn't say they are necessarily a good thing. These tests are neither good nor bad. They're like a half-full glass. Is it half full or is it half empty? How you look at it depends on what level you're at. To understand this point, let's go back to the analogy of budget as the female dating market value. When something is too cheap for her, that is low-quality man, she won't be interested and won't even test it. If the merchandise is within her budget instead, it catches her attention, and since it could be a potential boyfriend or lover, or even friend, then she wants to make sure which one he is and if he is good enough for any of them. That tells us that it's the guys who fluctuate just around her value who get most tests. But what happens if something that is out of her budget seems suddenly available? What happens if a high-value man pops up and it looks like she might have a chance with him? Well, in that case, it's a windfall, and testing doesn't even enter the picture. She'll be busy relishing the opportunity. Just imagine the following scene. Leonardo DiCaprio goes out of a movie premiere and tells one of the screaming girls that she can go with him. Can you even imagine her testing him on the way to his suite? Exactly. Hence, it's not true that tests are necessarily good. It's not true that women test depending on their value. It's not true that high-value women test more than low-value ones. Women test depending on how their value relates to yours, plus how uncertain they are about you, and lots of games tend to make women more uncertain. S-test power dynamics. When she is testing you, she is putting up hoops for you to jump through, and people who put up hoops are the ones with power in an interaction. From a perspective of power dynamics, tests as she feels more powerful than you. And when you're in a mindset of passing the tests, you are confirming that indeed she has more power and she has higher market value. This is why this video is all about how not to jump at all. Now that you know about tests, how do you deal with them? The idea of passing shit tests is a bad mindset to begin with. 1, because it reinforces the idea that she is putting the hoops, and hence she is in the power position. And 2, because it conjures you as her frame. And we'll see later why this is often not the most effective way of seducing. So, let's get into it. Number 1, ignore it. This is the all-season workhorse. Whenever you can't think of anything good, or whenever you don't feel it's worth your attention and effort, ignore. Bad joke, underhanded comment, frenemy trying to devalue you when women's test you. Pretend you didn't hear it. Act as if it didn't register, and you will show tremendous superiority. 2, own who you are. Women sometimes test men to check their role. Men often fail tests because they have no idea what that means. And when they do, they still don't stick with one, but try to fit the bill of what she wants. But since most of the times they are also not sure what she wants, they hem and haw, and finally end up looking weak and insecure. What is the solution to this? If you're hell-bent on getting her, pick what you believe she most likely wants and then commit to it. You can even better, pick your role and own it. Then pick the type of woman you like, and then use test women for what you want while being fully yourself. Men who know where they stand and are unapologetic about it look strong and confident. Often, they turn this test right back at her without even trying, just by being themselves. They end up socially dominating her, which is supremely attractive to women, and is a preview of the bedroom physical domination, which might come later. Number 3, shame her. I really like this option. Instead of playing the game, you shame her for playing games. This is a very powerful technique that is particularly effective to stamp out games and combativeness from relationships, but works also well in earlier interactions. Basically, you want to shame her for playing a me vs you game, and make her follow your lead into a more collaborative, us in this together form of seduction. Number 4, put your foot down. This technique leverages social power and soft power. It consists of drawing her out, taking her into the no man's land, and then taking the judge position by laying down your law. Basically, this test buster here is to refuse to retreat and stand your ground. It's also an option to make her retreat and defend, but I wouldn't recommend it in seduction as belligerence is rarely conducive to intercourse. Number 5, let her have it. This is the strategy of the superior player. The superior player is so comfortable in his own skin and so confident that he doesn't need to pay attention to who's in control. He has this mindset because he has reached a certain abundance mentality and has risen above the game. He sees the games women play, but decides to play a different game of inclusivity. You can sometimes test her better if you let her win. Will she stop? Will she ask for more? Will she disrespect you after she feels she's got more power? These are the questions you want to answer for the people you accept into your life. And you will not find out if you focus on winning the petty battle. Number 6, don't get tested, test her. Men with high dating market value are less concerned about being tested and more about testing the women they allow in their lives. That's why the best mindset to have is not to worry too much about women's tests, but testing women. Is there a way of turning S-tests around? When you switch focus from passing this test to moving the interaction forward, you spot more opportunities to do so. The interaction turns into a power struggle, and power struggles rarely end up in bed. They can, and it's big fireworks of domination and submission. But you don't make the rules with the exceptions. Indeed, a mindset of seeing tests as flirting might be the most helpful one to deal with tests in general. What about when tests turn into red flags? When S-tests are red flags about her and her personality, that is past the point of no return. When that's the case, you don't need to pass the test, you need to pass up on the woman. The biggest takeaways from this video are 3 mindset shifts to fix tests forever. Rather than playing the game by her rules, turn the game around and take control of the frame. Worry less about how to pass tests and focus more on becoming a tester yourself. Shift mindset from passing the test to moving the interaction forward. That's it for today. Tell us what you think down in the comments below. Have you ever been tested? How did you deal with it? Now go out and apply the knowledge you got from this video on dealing with women's tests. You will emerge as a winner. Thank you for watching.